Ladies and gentlemen, our third speaker is on the Advanced Speech Project number 1, Public Relations Goodwill Speech. Her speech will run from 5 to 7 minutes, and the title of her speech is Become a Better Speaker Overnight. She will be evaluated by Area Director Ed Ramirez, DTM. Our third speaker, our VP for Education, Loise Banez, CC.
Good afternoon. Can you hear me well?
Yes.
Okay. So the title of my speech is Become a Better Speaker Overnight. What if you were asked to speak at a special event? That is a great opportunity, right? And you feel thrilled, but you seldom speak in a formal setting. Unfortunately, captivating an audience would take a few years for you to be able to develop. So now, what you want to do is just explode. I believe every one of us wants to be an excellent speaker. In this speech, I'm going to share to you some tips for you to become a speaker. So the first thing you must consider is find your cause. Yes, you have to find your cause. You just don't speak without a background about your topic. You must have your own platform. So from there, you can start with a story. What makes it interesting is when you put your personal conviction into it. Your topic can revolve around what you're passionate about, what you have been working on lately, your interests and hobbies. You may also want to talk about the struggles you are facing, which it may eventually lead you to health awareness and some disciplines. You'll be surprised. Becoming a better speaker is a life journey. Now, I remember a friend who admitted that he struggled with storytelling. He began and tried. And I, being the listener, found the story engaging. But what made him say that he's not good in storytelling? I think it's his introvert personality. Well, how about in your case? Is that the same with you? Well, whatever the reason is, the main question, do you find public speaking a skill necessary for you and in becoming a better leader? Definitely, right? So there is no doubt that a good communicator is an attribute of a good leader. Now, what about that? You were asked to speak at a special or a big event. What are you going to do now? So don't fret yet. I know you're not used to it, but then in this speech, I'm going to tell you some tips. These are the 3 unconventional ways for you to be a better speaker overnight. So the first thing is share an emotional story. So share a story that relates your topic and just let your emotions show. If you were sad, say so. If you cried, say so. If you feel remorse, then let it show. When you share real feelings, you create an immediate lasting connection to the audience. Emotion elevates speaking skills every time. For example, the surrounding was so calm and peaceful. Everything was good, except for one thing hanging on my thoughts. Leech! That no backbone leech. I would leap, disturb the small fishes, and get out from the water when I see one. But the good thing, there wasn't any. So that's how emotion elevates your speech. Second, pause for 8 to 10 seconds. When I start public speaking, the most awkward moment for me was silence. Silence. Until I received a feedback about intentional pausing. Especially when you ask a question, you pause for an answer. And when in the middle of a speech, pausing will help your audience internalize what you are trying to build up. There's a weird phenomena that occurs when you stop talking. So pause for 2 to 3 seconds. The audience assume that you're lost in your place. Pause for 5 seconds, and the audience begins to think that the pause is intentional and starts wondering why. Then when you start speaking again, the audience naturally assumes that pause was intentional. And then decide that you're actually a confident and accomplished speaker. Remember to pause. Third, is never think sales. Never. Most business people assume that they should capitalize on speaking engagement to try to promote a product or service, win new clients, and build wider networks. Don't. Thinking in terms of sales only adds additional pressure to what is already a stressful situation. Put all your focus on ensuring the audience will benefit from what you say. Never try to accomplish more than one thing. So what are those three? Those three are, first, share an emotional story. Second, pause for 8 to 10 seconds. And then third, never think sales. Now, the art of captivating an audience can take years to develop, as what Jeff Hayden said. You can never go wrong with joining a club that will help you with your communication. This is an endeavor for you to improve on your leadership and expose you to more speaking engagement to become a better leader. Yes, not only as a speaker, but also as a person. I am delighted to represent an international organization where our home club belongs. You're welcome to be part of BF Community Toastmasters. Back to you, our Toastmaster of the day.
All of you are wondering what's happening. I learned pause. So for 10 seconds, I paused before I spoke. Ladies and gentlemen, as we proceed with our program, we now are excited to hear from our fourth speaker. Our fourth speaker is on the Successful Club series. His speech will run from 10 to 15 minutes. The title of the speech is Evaluate to Motivate. He will be evaluated by our past Division Director, Jeffrey Ganaba, CCCL. Ladies and gentlemen, our champion, Jude Anthony Ola, ACS-CL.
Good afternoon, fellow Toastmasters. Good afternoon, guests. So, I'll just share my screen. The goal is not to be perfect by the end. The goal is to be better by tomorrow. So while we are in quarantine, I'm glad that everyone is really in this meeting for us to be better. And a part of Toastmasters that helps us to be better is the evaluation portion. So, okay. Sorry, I'm having a problem with my slides. Okay, so good afternoon once again. So welcome to my speech, Evaluate to Motivate from the Successful Club series. Okay, so as speakers, effective evaluations can benefit us by, of course, one, providing immediate feedback. So after our portion, the second portion of prepared speeches, and also after our table topics, we immediately go to our third portion, which is the evaluation portion for our members to have immediate feedback with the speeches they have delivered. Next is we have to offer methods for improvement. As I've mentioned earlier, as we are in quarantine, let's do what we can do for us to enhance ourselves and to improve. So as evaluators, it is our duty to help the speakers that we are evaluating for them to improve. Next, of course, is building and maintaining self-esteem. If you remember in our Toastmasters promise, of course, we have to maintain the helpful, positive environment for our members to learn and grow. So that's what we do with our evaluation. We build and we maintain self-esteem of our members. So for our evaluation, we use the tell and sell approach, meaning this requires the evaluator to do all the talking and the speaker will listen to the evaluation given to him or her. That way, this will make the meeting efficient since it leaves no time for conversations between them. If there is something that the speaker probably wants to clarify, perhaps they can talk on the side after the meeting or if there are breaks. It also allows the speaker to focus on what is being said instead of waiting for a response. Usually when I am being evaluated, I really jot down the areas where I can improve, and of course the areas that I did well, so that I can apply it into my next speech project. Next is new members. It is advised by Toastmasters for new members to not evaluate until they have conducted several speeches. Why is that? Because of course they'd have to experience speaking first and being evaluated first, so that when they are the ones who will giving snippets of wisdom during their evaluation, they are prepared to do it as well, especially in the Toastmasters way. Next, so fellow Toastmasters, so I'm sure you're excited when you're gonna be assigned to do evaluation roles. So here are some tips on how to evaluate effectively. So one is giving an evaluation is an excellent way to demonstrate our skills as Toastmasters. So here are some basic points to remember when we are giving our evaluation. So one is before the speech. So before the speech, if possible, you review and discuss the manual objectives and evaluation guidelines with the person you are evaluating. That way, both of you can have a clear way of knowing what's gonna be delivered and what's gonna be evaluated. And if possible, ask about concerns regarding the speech or probably the speaker's speaking ability. This is also especially important if you're mentoring someone who is going to speech so that you can guide him or her in her delivery, in their delivery. Of course, being the evaluator, you should be the most interested person in the speaker. So show to them that you are interested. That way, at that moment in time, you are immediately giving him or her encouragement. So demonstrate that you are truly interested in the speech and exhibit your interest in the speaker's ability to grow. Also, you don't have to copy any other style. You can personalize your language. Put yourself in the position of the speaker before giving an evaluation. Was she nervous? Was he fumbling a bit? So put yourself in that situation so that you can have a little bit of empathy when you are giving your evaluation. That way, your the speaker feels the importance of the evaluation being given to him or her, and he then learns how to do it. So some tips: stay away from words like you didn't, you should have, you failed to. So usually, this sometimes negate. So if you are able to somehow point out some good points in the speech, and then you say you didn't, you should have, you failed to, that kind of negates the initial positive delivery done by the speaker. Next is to stimulate improvement. It's recommended for us to use words like I believe, my reaction was, or I suggest that. So usually when we give evaluation, sometimes we would say, in your next speech, I suggest that. In your next speech, I believe your gestures can further be enhanced. Something like that. Then keep the evaluator's mantra in your mind to maximize your speech. So what I saw. When you say to your speaker, what I saw, you immediately communicate to him or her that you were really listening and looking at her in the speech. So, for example, what I saw was that you were effective in dramatizing your points. What I heard. So again, aside from seeing, we are hearing our speaker. So for example, when I heard that you were really using vocal variety, then that kind of helped you emphasize certain points in the speech that you have delivered. And finally, what I felt. So again, as I've mentioned earlier, the empathy for our speaker. So I really, for example, the speaker, as mentioned by Toastmaster Loise a while ago, when we dramatize. So if you have felt also the drama of that speech, you communicate that with your speaker. That way, you don't need to tell her that it was effective when you say that I really felt the burden that you were going through when you were telling the story of your struggles. That's an effective way of telling her that that her delivery was effective because you yourself felt it. Then please remember to evaluate the speech and not the person. So meaning to say, always keep your main purpose in mind: to help, to support, and to evaluate or elevate the speaker. Next is pay attention to the speaker's goal for self-improvement. And I'm sure all of us, as we have our own goals. And if we can communicate also to our evaluator, to our Toastmasters, then probably we can help them. Let's say, for example, during the area contest, when I joined for the Humorous, after the speech, Sir Ed told me to, since it's a humorous speech, it's okay to exaggerate movements. So when I went to the division level contest, I applied what Sir Ed told me to exaggerate my movement. So it has helped me improve the speech that I have delivered. Next is watch for symptoms of fear or insecurity. So that way, you can, when you evaluate the person, you can build him up or support her so that in the next speaking engagement that she delivers, that person will be able to rid themselves of that fear or insecurity. And evaluate what the speaker does, not what the speaker is. So I mean to say, whatever he or she is doing on the stage, that is what you are gonna be evaluating. Of course, we know each other. Usually, we know each other personally, so we do not evaluate on that person, on his or her personality, but right there at that moment, who or whatever he or she presents in that stage, that is what we are going to evaluate. Then, of course, we have to promote self-esteem. So encourage and inspire the speaker to participate again. So that way, he or she will be able to, how do I put it, to have the courage to go about with all the speech project, especially after that heart-wrenching icebreaker speech, so that they can progress with their Toastmaster journey. So you give honest and sincere praise, do positive reinforcement, and provide helpful direction when necessary, so that you do not only encourage them, you also give them tips on how to move forward. And always end your evaluation positively. That way, there is a takeaway of self-esteem from your speaker. In the end, connect your opening statement. So when whatever, however you started your evaluation, you connect it towards the end. So for example, I'm evaluating someone. So let's say Toastmaster. Let's say I'll just use my name. Let's say Toastmaster Jude. So I really liked how your speech, so how you delivered your dramatic speech. So at the end of the speech, you can reconnect it. So with all those points being said, your speech was really dramatic, and I hope to hear more speeches from you. Something like that. Summarize your key points. I think if you are fortunate enough to hear evaluations of, let's say, area director Leia, she is very good in summarizing points. Also, our contestant, Toastmaster Pat, she's also good at summarizing points. So it's why is it important for us to summarize the key points, so that there are snippets or bullets that are easy to remember, so that the speaker can really bring them home after the meeting. That's the key takeaways for them, and it's easy for them to remember it. And if possible, give a personal story or example. Also, encourage your listeners to apply what they heard. And, the evaluation, of course, although the evaluation is mainly for the speaker, it's also for all of us in the audience to learn from it. So when the evaluator gives the evaluation, for me personally, even if I am not the one being evaluated, I try to list down areas for improvement or the good points that the evaluator saw, because I know that I can also apply that to my other speeches as well. And also, although just another, probably I would also like to share one experience when I was in one of the clubs that I was mentoring. So there was one speaker who, how do I put it, who said some inappropriate words during her speech. Now, as the evaluator, I simply called her up after giving her my evaluation after the meeting. I talked to her on the side and told her that you might want to use a different word for what you said, or maybe you would just might want to pause it because the learners understood it, the listeners understood it already. So I would also advise our evaluators, if there are some things that you might you feel that it is important but you might not be able to say it out loud, you might want to consider also talking to the speaker in private. So fellow Toastmasters, I hope that some of this can be brought into our evaluation. As we continue our Toastmasters journey, we also give back by sharing our experiences whenever we evaluate our fellow Toastmasters, or whenever we evaluate the speakers that are assigned to us. So please remember that let's try to speak in such a way that others love to listen to you, and listen in such a way that others would love to speak to you. So I hope that all of those tips are helpful to our evaluators. Back to you, Toastmaster of the Day, DKM, AD Chain.
Thank you, past area director Jude Ola. Ladies and gentlemen, when you look at Toastmasters, Leia, DTM Ed, DTM Les, DTM Raul, you are looking at numerous hours of practice and practice and practice till they have reached what the status of their evaluation status are now. So I would suggest that we practice and practice and practice evaluating every single situation we are presented with. And with that, ladies and gentlemen, I'd like to thank our 4 prepared speakers as well as our evaluators. Let's do a time check. This concludes our prepared speech portion. Time check, it's now 3:48. We are going for a 15-minute break while our evaluators prepare their evaluations. Mr. Timer, Toastmaster Carlo, please do let us know when time is up. Thank you, everybody. Enjoy the break.
No food.
Yay.
Pwede na tayo magsalita.
Get some coffee.
Ang hirap, no? Nakakaloka.
Dala niya na lang, padala niya na lang.
O, pwede na jumingle.
Delivery.
Let's get the food.
Walang
Deliver daw,
pakain.
papadeliver.
Ano,
Yeah,
mukbang. Mukbang.
TM Pad, did you record? There's no food.
Kinakain ko ng kamote.
Let's get the food.
So TM Pad, were you able to record all of the speeches?
Ah, yeah, it's recording pala.